There's another mass shooting in America. This happened on Monday in Philadelphia. Five people were killed when, again, a mass shooter used an AR-15 to go on a killing spree, almost at random. And this is once again another terrifying and likely avoidable tragedy that the right wing has decided to politicize against transgender people. Yeah, because of course. Now, I'm going to show you how they're doing this. Now, the suspected shooter is believed to be 40-year-old Kim Brady Carricker, who the right claims is transgender and supports Black Lives Matter. Okay, so you might think, well, yeah, they do that pretty much with every shooting. Oh, BLM, trans people, Black Lives Matter, whatever. Antifa, you know. And they use some images of Carricker wearing women's clothing and sporting long hair. So, first off, let me point out, wearing women's clothing does not make you transgender. That's not an automatic, you put on a dress, you must be transgender. No, if you think that way, let me give you a couple of examples here. One is Rudy Giuliani, who very obviously, famously wore drag in a video along with Donald Trump. Rudy Giuliani is not transgender. Okay, drag queens are not transgender either. Steven Crowder, by the way, also someone who loves to dress up in women's clothing. I know, for his skits, for his sketches, right? Well, I mean, under that same idea, if anytime you ever put on women's clothing, you must be trans. Just not true. It's just not true. Now, the right also claims that a picture that he put up of a clenched fist proves that he is Black Lives Matter. That's pretty flimsy evidence. So anybody who's ever put up a clenched fist of a picture online is automatically Black Lives Matter. Again, pretty flimsy evidence here. Okay. That said, what do I think? I think he's a right winger. I think he's got some right wing views, and I have some evidence of this. So, Vice took a look at his social media accounts, specifically a deleted Facebook account, which again the right wing had also grabbed these pictures from. Right now, that same account. And you won't hear this from the right wing that has left a lot of things out. Turns out he was a huge fan of the Second Amendment, Trump, and guns. In fact, under a video of Biden, he said this y'all president, we said 2A defends our rights. Now it's God save the Queen while he attempts to take our arms. This is in reference to a recent gun safety speech where which the president gave, where he ended up saying, God save the Queen. Okay. In another post with a link to a video about Biden pushing gun control measures, Carricker wrote, I told you he wanted your rights. God save the Queen, says Biden. Okay. In another recent Facebook post on his Facebook account, the suspect shared a video of children using guns, and in what was his final activity in the site before he allegedly killed 5 people, he posted a link to a YouTube video from a gun company teasing the release of a new rifle. Ooh, look at that. Now, that's, again, seems to be a very big fan of, guns. And hey, look, it's not just a right wing that enjoy guns. Left likes guns, too. There are people of all political persuasions that do like guns. To be fair. And that's going to play in a little bit later to my commentary. But first, Trump. Now, he posted repeatedly about Donald Trump in some, well, let's just say they weren't very critical. In May, he shared a post entitled, Who Supports Trump in 2024? Which featured an American flag emblazoned with the words, God, guns, and Trump. Okay. So the right wing, of course, ignored all of that. Ignored all the, posts, the pro-Second Amendment posts and posts seemingly having him in favor of Donald Trump. And instead posted some pretty messed up headlines that focused all on him allegedly being trans. Notice that I say him, because there's no evidence that this person referred to themselves as she, her, or they, them. So there's also that. Okay. Now, let me go through the list of some of these articles, these titles from different outlets. New York Post headlines its piece, gunman arrested for Philadelphia mass shooting that left 5 dead is BLM activists who wore women's clothes. Okay. All right. Daily Wire put out Philly alleged mass shooter identified as cross-dressing BLM supporter. Where was that? Where was that? Ben Shapiro argued shooting would likely be disappeared by the media. Apparently not, because the perpetrator is not a white dude who backed Donald Trump. Oops, he kind of did like Donald Trump. By the way, not a white dude, but still backed Donald Trump. Yes, there are black Trump supporters. I don't quite understand them, but they exist. Shapiro added the shooter was a 40-year-old man who is trans. Apparently, no. This person posted 2 pictures of himself wearing a bra, a woman's top, and earrings with his hair braided long in March. Shapiro also mentioned the suspect's support of BLM, adding of the shooting, "We're not allowed to talk about this anymore." And yet you're literally talking about it. Okay. Daily Mail also talked about an exclusive in its headline, cross-dressing gunman behind July 4th Philly bloodbath that left 5 dead as BLM supporter made chilling Facebook posts about black massacres and evil spirits. Wow, that was a mouthful. Of course, they did not mention the posts in support of Donald Trump, because of course not. I'm sorry, until the 22nd paragraph. So you got to get real far in. So I guess fair in the Daily Mail. It's in there somewhere. You just got to do a lot of reading. Gateway Pundit, however, titled their story, "Gunman behind Philly massacres, BLM supporter and transgender?" ? The Gateway Pundit did not include any mention of Trump with the Second Amendment's article. Post-millennial characterized character in its headline as BLM supporter. That article also failed to mention any of the alleged perpetrators' pro-Trump commentary. Then you have Hot Air. Philadelphia shooter was another transgender person. Wayne Allen Root also shared the post-millennial story, tweeting, "History may refer to this period in American history as the Great Trans War." Unhinged. Just unhinged. This guy's over here screaming, "We're under attack! No, it's the transes! They're coming for us!" No, they're literally not, though. I mean, it's all of this is just insanity. It's dumb. There's no evidence of the things that they're saying. It just doesn't exist. They're just jumping to crazy conclusions, and I could go on. By the way, this is a sampling of this mass amount of just fountain of disinformation that we are constantly being drenched in at all times. They have hopped on the bandwagon that every single mass shooter apparently is either a trans person, BLM, or Antifa, despite the fact that we know that they're not. We know that they're not. And by the way, we have actual statistics. We have numbers. So now, this comes from Laura Dugan, and I'm going to give her a quote here. I'm going to quote her here. And she's a professor of human security and sociology at The Ohio State University. She said, quote, "We cannot statistically make any claim of a trend of transgender people being a threat and being mass shooters." So here are the numbers. Now, the 4 examples that conservatives cite, and one of them is dubious at best. Okay. those 4 examples that you constantly hear about if you're listening to right-wing media, they're minuscule compared to the 3,561 mass shootings since the year of 2016 that have been perpetrated by cisgender males. Yeah. That's 0.11% of all mass shootings that it can be attributed to possibly transgender or non-binary shooters. It's a pretty low number. Pretty low. And yet, you know, they seem to be kind of laser hyper-focused on those 4. Look, there is a trend, however, that seems to be absolutely real, and that's violence against transgender people. Trans people are 4 times more likely than cisgender people to be victims of violent crimes, despite the fact that they're very, very small representative in society. There's not a lot of them, and yet they're 4 times more likely to suffer violence, to be the victims of violent crimes. That says something. That trend is absolutely real, and it's horrifying. And the right, again, first of all, it's almost as if they're full of crap. And secondly, well, they are full of crap. And again, secondly, they're just heaping all of this, disgusting rhetoric against these very small, very, very marginalized communities in the hopes of apparently, because this is what it seems like, making it so that instead of it being, 4 times more likely that a trans person experiences violent crime, maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 10 times more. They're actively stoking violence against the transgender community and the LGBTQI plus community at large. So there's more. Mr. Carricker's grandmother, who again did not identify him as transgender, said her grandson was, quote, very political and held some very anti-government views. So now that does not sound like a leftist transgender activist. It sounds like someone who's been subscribed for some to some right-wing views, which is very strange. So now let me get into some quick nuance, right? So let me just be clear. He liked guns. As I mentioned before, that's not a right-wing thing specifically. There's a lot of leftists that like guns. Now, speaking of leftists, okay, do they hold anti-government views? No, a lot of them hold anti-capitalist views. Now, that might look like some anti-government views. Certainly our government's pretty capitalist. But you generally do not see them do mass shootings. No, the vast majority, and studies prove this, of politically motivated mass shootings comes from the far right. It's easily accessible information. The FBI has put out the statistics on this. And so, now, that fact alone, the fact that you have this increasing violence against transgender people in the LGBTQI plus community, and, you have the increase of, groups like Proud Boys and other fascist groups, alt-righters, that have been engaging in violence. That's why there are leftists out there that are arming themselves. They want to protect themselves from the fascists, and I don't really blame them. And yes, that does mean that trans women are among those that are arming themselves. And I think that fact alone is making right-wingers very nervous. Which is why I think that you are seeing some very specific attacks against trans women. Let me show you an example of one of those. And this, I believe, is Eric Bowman.
Chris, just let me get the final thoughts from you. I mean, they're talking.
Wrong video. Hold on.
Will there ever be any concern as to why these various trans people are committing mass shootings? Do we know if hormones given to trans people are causing problems? We don't know. And we will have trouble knowing because no one wants to fund research that goes against that leftist narrative.
Nope, that's not true. Also, by the way, early in that same segment, Eric Bolling's like, we shouldn't let these people have guns. So basically, oh yeah, I'm for the Second Amendment, except for trans people. Which they, by the way, that's also why they've begun calling being transgender a mental illness, to keep them away from being able to arm themselves. Not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, folks. And again, you heard him also talk about, do we know if hormones given to trans people are causing problems? We don't know. Actually, yeah, we do know. Does Eric Bolling believe that estrogen is making trans women into violent mass murderers? Does he think that's what's happening? What? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that there isn't side effects of any medication, because in any medication, there is side effects, of course. That's what HRT is, by the way. It's medication. It's medication that has been proven to be very effective at promoting positive mental health outcomes for trans people. Yes, vastly improving their quality of life and cutting down on the risks of suicidal ideation. Okay? It has helped so many people. HRT. The risks are massively outweighed by the benefits. By the way, those risks, none of them include being turned into a mass murderer. That's just insanity. No, look, I'm gonna point it out real simply, okay? This isn't drugs. This isn't about mental health, okay? No, what I think is driving mass shootings is easy access to weaponry and being radicalized online by far-right hacks that are pushing culture war narratives. That's really it. Congratulations, I solved the mystery.